I'm Rachel Meliotis, a senior editor at O'Reilly, and I'm here at OSCON 2013 with Peter Scott. He is a computer software consultant, and we're going to talk about Perl. So I understand you're the guy to talk to about Perl, frankly, and how did you get so good with the language?
Well, thank you, Rachel. It's very flattering, but I'll take it as being just a provocative way of inciting me to credit the people that are the real power behind Perl, because I'm really just a bystander in that respect compared to the people that do so much for Perl. People like the Perl Foundation,
Sure.
Nat Torkington, Karen Pauley, Jim Brandt, who work tirelessly to support Perl, get support for Perl from the outside. People like Tom Christensen, who's learned so many things, now the expert on Unicode.
Yep.
It's just a phenomenal amount of knowledge on that. Randall Schwartz has just spent half his life in Perl. He was giving a talk on that earlier, and Stonehenge is the biggest trainer for that. Brian DeFoy is a training machine, and so much. And we have people like Alison Randall, Chromatic, spent so much time behind the scenes, uncredited, unthanked, developing the standards for and specifications and language and tests for Perl 6. And of course, Larry, who's been the brains and the driving force behind Perl 5, Perl 6, which now has this team that have been slogging away for years on developing that. People like Patrick Michaud and Damien Conway, who's the best evangelist that anyone could hope for in any language, and countless other people that I've left out, from people like Nick Clark, Dave Mitchell, who really drive the development of Perl 5 these days, and many others who just unthanked, uncompensated, day-to-day work on small, little, big things in the course of Perl. The niche that I've carved out is different types of education for Perl, starting with books, instructor-led training, remote training, mentoring, code review, videos, and most recently the Perl certificate course for O'Reilly School of Technology, which, despite its name, is not a certification in the sort of more pejorative term that a lot of open source people think of it as, but it's a fully work one-on-one with an instructor at your own pace to get understood, an understanding of the Perl language, and make sure that students get through it. So I've really just learned how to teach Perl in these different ways, and that's been...
So for people that don't know too much about Perl, what is it that makes it such a powerful language?
Well, our motto for so long has been, there's more than one way to do it. And I think of Perl as being like the English of computer languages. You can express yourself in this huge variety of ways, which is a blessing and a curse, because you may get a program from someone who thought this was just such a dandy way to do it, and you look at it and go, that's not the way I would do it at all.
Right.
But it provides that low barrier of entry for people to come in, and it's really this sort of eclectic melting pot that says you can do it pretty much your way.
Do you feel like people are choosing Perl nowadays? Like how is the community welcoming in new programmers or getting new programmers to use Perl?
I think there's more than one way to do it as far as Perl community is concerned. Includes, you can use Python, you can use Ruby. We're not about standing on our hill and saying ours is the best, ours has got to be the best, right or wrong. That whatever works for you. We've seen so many things come along like those languages and others to come that have built on Perl's successes, that we go, yay.
Sure.
You learned, you extended it. Parts of Perl just permeate so many other things now. Perl compatible regular expression library, it's called Perl compatible.
Right. What about what do you think, like, what's new in Perl that's very exciting to you, that you're happy, like, oh, finally we have it?
Well, we have now for several years had a regular release schedule for Perl 5.
Right.
And so the Perl 6 project really revitalized Perl 5 by giving it a roadmap of cool features that are designed into Perl 6. And people maintaining and developing Perl 5 said, can't we do some of those? Can we put some of those in? And by and large they've worked. Some of those haven't, so like we just took out in Perl 5.18 some of the smart match features that were added earlier that were borrowed from Perl 6 didn't work so well, so they were degraded to an experimental status. But there's so many of those features that have been added as a result of the Perl 6, so like the research and development arm of Perl, that every new release of Perl 5 has more of those.
Yeah, that's kind of worked out really well. So OSCON and Perl have really been intertwined over the past 15 years. Where do you see Perl going over the next 15 and then the community?
Well, Rachel, has been more than 15. So OSCON dates itself back to 1999, but it's in a slot that was occupied for 2 years before that by the Perl conference.
Okay.
And in 97 and 98 in San Jose in the summer, O'Reilly ran the Perl conference. And when OSCON started, a lot of us were calling it the Perl Conference 3. And I think O'Reilly was calling it that as well. Perl was a dominant part of that conference. So where do I see Perl or OSCON going in
the next 15?
What was the question?
Yeah, no, in the next 15 years. No, you make a very good point, because it's almost like, Perl was the basis, and look what's come up around it. I mean, so much, right? So where do you see Perl going in the next 15 years? Are we going to see Perl 6? Are we going to see Perl 5 evolve more,
Well, both of the above. Perl 6 schedule has become a running joke, obviously, but when you look at it, you can see that it will come out, I'm quite confident saying sometime in the next 15 years that they will get those last pieces done.
Sure.
We've been burned so many times on schedule predictions before that no one is going to do that again. And so at some point you'll see it'll come out and people will go, wow, there was no fanfare, you didn't tell us this, but that will be so pivotal at that point, because this is a language that has so much development in it, has so much behind it. If it were something that could have been thrown together in a few months by a handful of people, like so many things start off being, then it would be here by now. It's because there's so much in it that is taking that long, and I like to think that the good things are worth the wait. Definitely.
So I too look forward to seeing where Perl is going, and I thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Rachel.